In this next episode, we are going to share with you our next crazy upgrade, going from 400 amp hours of lithium batteries to a staggering 1100 amp hours. Why would we do this? And should you do this? And where are we going to put all of those batteries in a truck camper? Well, stick around and we're going to share how we did this and why, along with some other things too. We did reach out to Expion360 and they did give us a discount for these batteries with no strings attached. So anything that you see here is just our opinion.
Yep, all unbiased, because that's the way I roll.
Exactly.
We just want to make sure we give a good shout out to Penpac this year, helping us out with the batteries, kind of giving us some guidance as to what to do to make sure that we structurally are good for our host camper, for giving us the opportunity to do this in their facility.
And the first obvious question is, why are we doing an upgrade in the first place?
Well, if you sit in our camper, you'll notice that Laura's laptop, when she's editing videos, it's like a major power hog. So then we also put in a 12-volt refrigerator.
Which we love.
But, you know, it does take a little bit more than what we're used to. And then, you know, it's other things like, do we go for camping out in the desert like we were in Death Valley and it's 100 degrees?
Be nice to run that air conditioner just a little longer.
Yeah, and we don't have to run our generator all the time, so.
And we are planning on doing this for a long while. So we think that putting that investment in our vehicle is worth the money for us.
Well, here we are, getting ready to put in some new batteries. I'll show you the new batteries, but first I get the luxury of taking the old ones out. I just turned off all my solar panels, so hopefully I won't get electrocuted now, so great. This is what the old system looks like. And so I've got to disconnect everything, get all the Victron stuff all redone. So we use these tie-downs on the batteries. These work very good for holding these batteries. I've never, once I got them tightened down, they never came loose on me at all. The only bad part about them was they had metal buckles, but. I'm gonna get this tray out of here so that I can work on the bottom down here and get the other battery trays in.
The next obvious question is, why 1100 amp hours? Why not more? Why not less? We are going all out crazy on this one, so we wanted to max out what we could do. Our main limitation is space and our current Victron inverter. We have a Victron Multi-Plus 3000 watt inverter, and according to the specs, they do recommend battery bank sizes from 400 amp hours to 1200 amp hours. So beyond that would really require us to get a new inverter, and that's just not in our plans. We stuck to the below 1200 amp hours, which was a little bummer because Expion did have 450 amp hour batteries, the same size as we could, but we don't want to damage the inverter. So we stuck with the 368 amp hour batteries from Expion360. The next challenge is trying to figure out how many of these batteries can we fit in our camper. And I'm going to let Gary show you, but we are going to put those in our cadaver tray, or the slide out tray, in our basement. Today is an exciting day. We are headed to Expion360 to pick up some batteries.
Yes, we're gonna go bigger.
We are picking up the batteries right now. Unfortunately, they don't allow tours of the facility, but that's okay. We still have the batteries. We're gonna get those ratcheted down so we can make the treacherous drive back to Penpac, which is about literally 2 miles.
We're gonna switch it to Expion. They have nice swag, so.
They definitely did.
So
They're treating us right.
They treated us right. Even gave me some jelly beans, so we're good to go.
Anytime you give Gary sugar is a good thing.
Yep.
Oh, you dropped one. Here, I'll take it. Oh, you just ate it anyway, you're gross. Including the jelly beans, we ended up getting some additional Expion360 swag, like the engineering paper So there's Gary's future project just waiting for him. Gonna have a grand old time being in your favorite place, which is the cadaver tray.
Cadaver tray, wrestling with heavy stuff. It's always a great time.
It's gonna be lovely. You get all of the wildlife apparently at Penpac RV. Check this out.
And they're comfy. They're just lounging out there now.
No, they're eating the leaves off the trees.
Day 2 here at Penpac. I'm fixing to get everything set up in there. Made a wood platform, 1/2-inch plywood platform. I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm going to strip some wire out of the Victron right now. Hopefully we'll have things underway and have a battery installed at the end of today. So see how this goes. Get to see my ugly mug laying sideways this time. But hopefully you can see this. So I got 1/2-inch plywood with a piece of Luan with a little bit of fiberglass on it. I temporarily put battery hold-on things in here just to make sure that they all fit and they can be screwed down. I got to do some other work in the Victron before I do those, put those in permanently. I'll get the Victron stripped of all of its old wire. We originally put 2-aught wire in. We're going to put 4-aught wire in now. So far, we've got, let's see if we can throw a little light on the subject here. So far, we got the inverter wired in. I've got those 2 wires running up here and going straight into the distribution blocks. Right now I'm going to be putting in the tray in the first battery, which will contain a fuse, 400 amp fuse by Go Power, and also a switch, a 300 amp turn on and off switch, and then that'll be wired also to the distribution block here.
Another obvious question is, why did we go away from Battleborn and go to Expion360? Was there any problem with the Battleborn batteries that we had during the last 3 years that we've been on the road? The answer is no. The Battleborn batteries have done well throughout the entire time we had them. They worked as expected, so I definitely would still recommend Battleborn batteries. And if you're interested in having some gently used Battleborn batteries, give us a holler. We have a few that we're selling. The biggest reason we chose Expion360 over Battleborn batteries was simply that they had more power in a smaller footprint, and that is something that was needed for our truck camper installation. If we would have gone with Battleborn, so the closest one that they have are the Game Changer 270 amp hour batteries, we'd end up installing 4 of them, and for one, we don't have the space for 4 of those, and 2, that's extra cabling that ultimately adds voltage drop every time you do that. So the less cabling that you can put in your system, the better off you are. So Expion360 definitely won in that matter. Another big factor was that Expion360 is here in Redmond, which meant that we could actually drive over, pick up the batteries, and come back without having the added costs and complexity of shipping, which is great. Another bonus that Expion360 has over Battleborn is that they have a 12-year warranty instead of the Battleborn 10 years. That's not a huge difference, but a little bit goes a long way.
Looks like we get to load our first Expion360 into the cadaver tray, which is going to be fun because these are like 100 pounds. Fortunately, Expion is gracious enough to give us some really hefty duty straps so that both of us can team lift this up there. And what I'm going to do is push it up in there. I got my mat roller creeper type thingy in there, and hopefully just kind of push it forward. You ready?
No, but I'm going to try. Okay. These straps do make it easier.
They do make it much easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, that worked.
That should slide in there nicely. So, butt alert, all you're going to see is ass and elbows getting into the cadaver areas.
Yeah, probably.
You there?
Oh yeah, I got a good view of your butt. There we go. It's almost like a horror movie. You just like his legs just keep on going in.
So this is the battery sitting in the hold down tray. They give you these nifty spacers. You go right there. And some T-bars. So T-bar just fits in. What they do is they give you some 3M tape. Of course, you have to be able to get the tape off here. And this side of the battery will look like that. The T's down there, and the other one is up there. So I'll show you the other one in just a minute. Put this bracket down on there. I'm going to put a washer on that. Throw a washer on there. We're going to put a nut on there. And then this, of course, won't fit on there. It's too fat. But I guess it was a 1/2 inch, but it's a 9/16. All right, we just got a 9/16 inch wrench. Tightened it down. Should be good there. They'll give you these nice caps to go on there, but they ain't gonna work. And she's in the mounts, ready to go. Cool.
So a big question that we get a lot is, should I upgrade my own RV? And that honestly is not an easy question, because how we travel is probably dramatically different than how you travel. So the first thing I would recommend is to get on the interwebs and check out my spreadsheet, which of course I adore spreadsheets, but that gives you an idea of really how much battery you may need as you start developing a system. This is a free Google spreadsheet. What you have to do is make a copy of this so you can modify all of the items below. Simply check the sections, the lines that apply to you. You can uncheck them if they don't. You can add stuff at the bottom, put information in the yellow areas, and it will spit out on the right-hand side how much potential amp hours you need. This again is just a calculation to get you thinking. It's not real life, but it gives you a ballpark. But the best thing to do is nothing. Go out and use your RV as you normally do. Don't even worry about solar and batteries or anything like that. Go out, enjoy camping. And then kind of watch how much you use your battery while you're out. Is your current battery bank okay for what you're using? And many times, especially if you're going to be going to campgrounds, you really won't need it much more. If you're going to be going out boondocking or dry camping, that's where some of the lithium batteries and larger systems become beneficial. But there's no sense to rush and go out and get something that you don't know how you're going to use. Dan was telling us about somebody who put in a ginormous electrical system on their RV, and all they were was going back and forth between Oregon and Florida, and they're going to be staying at campgrounds. No sense in spending a ton of money unless you really need it.
Here I am again, in my little cubby hole. All right, so I'm getting down to the final leg of this whole ordeal of changing the batteries. Solar's hooked up. All the stuff is hooked up for the servo. It's hooked up for the dongle for the Victron. I had to move the shunt because it was too far over, so that way it comes across cleanly from right here down through here. But as you can see, I've got all 3 batteries in. They require that you have equal length cables between all the terminals on all the batteries. So I made them all the same, so you see some kind of weird loops. And then I've got the jumper coming from the top of that battery there to the negative to the shunt. It's kind of where I'm at. I had to move a few things. I have a cooling fan down here to keep it cool. I moved that. My electrical junction box, moved that. And we'll see what happens now. So looks like we got everything hooked up. We got everything tidied up. We launched the switch and everything came on. So now we got Laura's up there programming to make sure, looking at the programs to make sure that we got it all tidied up. So if wires are touching, everything's got some braiding on it. Threw a little bit of extra protection. Went through and made sure all the torques are valid. So right now we're running it on inverter. So tomorrow, what I'll do is go in here and double check all the torques and everything on the batteries to make sure that they're not getting, things aren't getting too loose. I had to modify this bottom plate a little bit, cut some of the tab off to make it fit, but I think we got it situated, so I think we're good to go. Now I just got to get the tray modified to get it in here as well.
One thing to note, lithium batteries will give you almost immediately double the amount of power, and that's mainly because lead acid batteries can only be drawn down to about 50%. If you go below that 50% mark, you start damaging that battery, which means you're going to have to replace it a lot sooner. With lithium batteries, you can go almost down to zero, without doing any damage to the batteries at all. Although they are obviously significantly more expensive than your regular lead acids. If you're looking at a system, should you upgrade batteries first or maybe go with solar? Our opinion is you really do need a solid foundation on your electrical system, and that starts with the batteries. So if I was starting completely fresh, the first thing that I would buy would probably be 200 amp hours worth of lithium batteries. I would try that first and kind of see how things work out. I can always add solar later. I can always add a DC to DC charger later. I can also use my generator if I have one, and then see what you need from then on. One caveat of putting in batteries as the first step, make sure that your current inverter can charge lithium batteries. When we bought this camper back in 2018, the inverter that was in here was not compatible with lithium batteries. So if I was using that to charge our lithium batteries, I would be doing damage to them. So be aware of that. And if you're not comfortable with electrical, Penpac RV here in Redmond, Oregon does lots of these battery upgrades, full electrical systems upgrades. We would strongly recommend them. They give you a great deal and do a fantastic installation.
So we wrapped up the installation of the Expion360 batteries. Went pretty well. They're heavy, so it takes a little bit of work. But right now, I think we're going to give it a try. We're going to go scout around some BLM land and stuff like that and see how much we can actually off-grid with this stuff.
Yeah, so put this thing through its paces over the next several months. So we're kind of excited about that.
Yep.
If you do have any questions of what we've done, we'll be happy to help. Just put a comment in the description below and we will get back to you.
All right, we'll see you on the next trail.
Bye-bye.
Bye.